Demon Slayer is perhaps the most iconic new-gen anime. It has played a massive role in making anime even more popular. If you ask some newbies about their favorite show, they'll probably say Demon Slayer, which makes sense. Insane animation, epic battles, and jaw-dropping moments, this show has it all. However, the thing that makes this show even better are all the unique weapons wielded by different characters. Before we talk about all these weapons, let's talk about the anime itself, because there might be some people who probably live under a rock or something and haven't watched this show. Demon Slayer revolves around the story of a guy with insane plot armor named Tanjiro who wants to kill Michael Jackson, aka Muzan, who had turned his sister into a demon. I won't go into further details because that would spoil everything. Getting back to the topic, let's talk about the traditional weapons used by demon slayers. Most demon slayers use katana to battle demons, and not just any katana. These Nichirin swords are crafted with scarlet crimson iron sand and scarlet ore. Apparently, both these raw materials are found on high mountains where they absorb sunlight all year round. There's a whole ass village with swordsmiths that forge these katana. I wonder who pays them. Who knows? Anyways, these Nichirin swords change color depending on the user. This color determines which breathing style would suit the wielder. I guess that's enough about these swords. As you can see from the title, we won't be talking about these lame-ass swords here. In this video, we'll talk about all the unique weapons used by demon slayers. If you have watched this show, you must have noticed that some demon slayers and even demons use weird weapons that make them especially tricky to deal with. Without further ado, let's begin. First up, we have Inosuke's dual chipped sword. Some of y'all might say we aren't supposed to talk about swords in this video, but these are no ordinary swords. Most demon slayers keep their Nichirin blades clean and scratch-free. Inosuke, however, is built different. The first thing Inosuke does after receiving a katana is to grab a heavy-ass rock and strike his sword with it. He creates multiple chips in the katana, which turns it into a teeth-like blade that tears demonic flesh at several points instead of making a clean cut. Another interesting thing I'd like to mention is that Inosuke uses two swords instead of one, which makes his fighting style even more interesting. My man doesn't even use a scabbard to protect his hands. He just removes them and uses cloth bandages to cover the blade. I mean, he does care about his protection, so that's fair. This weapon suits his unique beast breathing, which is just a bunch of random attacks Inosuke learned and named beast breathing. Bro really thought he invented something. Anyways, let's rank this weapon on our tier list. Even though Inosuke's dual-chipped swords suit his unpredictable fighting style, they are quite impractical, since he cannot slash a demon's head normally. Against lower-ranked demons, his swords somehow work, but against an upper rank, I doubt Inosuke's swords would be able to slash its head. In my opinion, Inosuke weapons are a solid B tier.
Wow, bravo, bravo boss, bravo.
We have Genya Shotgun's shotgun. To be honest, this guy had me rolling on the floor when he brought those shotguns to the battlefield. Bro really took all those "what if they bring guns to a fight" memes seriously. Despite being the younger brother of Sanemi, who is literally the Wind Hashira, Genya cannot use a breathing style and has to rely on the shotgun. He is, in fact, the only demon slayer who cannot use a breathing style. No wonder his brother wants him to quit the Corps, but bro wants to achieve something in life. Genya uses a double-barrel shotgun to absolutely destroy demons using Nichirin bullets. However, since it is a shotgun, it is only effective in close combat. Besides the shotgun, Genya also keeps a wakizashi, which is a mini version of a Nichirin katana and can be used to decapitate demons. But Genya cannot use a breathing style, so it is not that effective. Now let's rate this weapon. Even though a shotgun seems quite effective in a sword fight, it has a lot of cons as well. Firstly, it is almost impossible to hit a moving target with a shotgun. It might work against measly demons, but against stronger demons, this weapon is literally useless. At this point, Genya should really quit the Corps and probably talk to some women. Anyways, I'd rate this weapon a B tier as well. Susamaru's Temari Handballs.
Funny, right?
We won't be talking about just demon slayers in this video. However, I won't be talking much about demons here because their weapons are an extension of their blood demon art, so it doesn't really make a difference. The first demon we'll be featuring is Susamaru. I'm pretty sure most of y'all don't even remember her.
He's just standing there, menacing. Menacingly!
So let me remind you, Susamaru was that self-proclaimed lower moon who played football with Nezuko back in season 1. Anyways, Susamaru's Temari handballs are so hard that they can destroy anything that comes in their way. However, these hard balls can be pierced by something sharp like a Nichirin sword. Alone, Susamaru wasn't all that strong, but combined with Yahaba's arrows, she was definitely a force to be reckoned with, but her skills sucked. Just like my conversation skills with women. Anyways, I would rate Susamaru's handballs a C rank. Even though these handballs are quite versatile, they are not strong enough to deal any significant damage, and without Yahaba, they are pretty much useless. Kyogai's Suzumi drums. Moving on, let's talk about another forgotten character who was actually a former member of the Lower Moon, unlike that fraud, Susamaru. My man got kicked out of the Lower Moons and hid himself in a mansion where he unfortunately came across Tanjiro's plot armor. Kyogai's Tsuzumi drums are closely related to his blood demon art that allows him to make changes to his surroundings. Kyogai had 6 of these drums on his body, with each one doing something different. The drum on his left shoulder allowed him to rotate the room to the left and vice versa. This ability seems quite overwhelming in the beginning, but after you figure it out, it is quite simple. You just have to follow his movements and you'll know which way the room will rotate. In my opinion, this weapon is also a C tier. You can just call it a cheap copy of Nakime Biwa. Now that we have mentioned it, let's talk about Nakime Biwa here. Following Hanteng's death during the Swordsmith Village arc, Nakime was appointed as the new Upper Moon 4. She is perhaps the most important character during the Infinity Castle arc because the Infinity Castle is basically her blood demon art. She uses the Biwa as means to use her blood demon art and control the Infinity Castle just as she pleases. Some of y'all might say that Nakime Biwa is not a weapon, but it still counts as one since she uses it to manipulate the castle. On the tier list, Nakime Biwa is a solid A rank.
Woo! Yeah, baby!
There are practically no weaknesses of this weapon, and it took 2 Hashiras to take her down, which is pretty insane. It is about time we talk about the 4 nasty demons that made the Swordsmith village a living hell. Yes, I'm talking about Hanteng's clones that are manifestations of his emotions. Funny enough, all these clones possess different weapons and have unique abilities that are tricky to deal with. Firstly, we have Sekido's Kakara fashioned from his own flesh. This weapon allows him to channel his lightning to strike at close and wide ranges to shock, paralyze, and incapacitate his enemies. He can also use it to fight at close ranges, but it is not that effective. In my opinion, Sekido's Kakara ranks at B tier owing to its destructive abilities. Next up, we have Karaku's Uchiwa that allows him to generate overwhelming gusts of wind to blow his enemies away and even level the battlefield. These gusts were strong enough to smack Muchiro into the forest. The thing that makes this weapon a no-go is that anyone can use it. Even a sucker like me can use it to smash people away. So this factor makes this weapon a C tier. Last up, we have Aizetsu's Jumonji Yari, which is perhaps the weakest weapon out of these. Aizetsu can only use this weapon at close range to strike his enemies or maybe block their attacks. There is nothing special about it, so we'll just leave it at C tier for its uselessness. Talking about being useless, there's another character that was pretty much useless, but her weapon was pretty damn overpowered, and you guess it right. I'm talking about Daki here. Daki's Obi sachets were extensions of her blood demon art that allowed her to control them at will. These sachets could extend to long distances and were strong enough to cut down entire houses. Even though they were soft like silk, they were sharp like a Nichirin blade. Besides offense, Daki also used these sashes to defend herself and curse others as well. I mean, these sashes were pretty badass in the sense that they could talk. Another interesting thing about these sashes is that Daki used them to store stuff like humans she wanted to eat later. I wonder if they worked like a refrigerator to keep them fresh. Never mind, I would rank these sashes at A rank for their versatility and for Daki as well. I mean, she's pretty hot. Since we are talking about Daki, it would be unfair not to mention her brother Gyutaro's Sickles. To be honest, Gyutaro was a pretty badass character, but the author did him dirty by pairing him with the useless Daki. Unlike Daki, Gyutaro was strong AF, and if he was alone, Tengen and the others would have been fodder. These badass Sickles were red in color and contained poisonous blood that was deadly enough to paralyze a ninja like Tengen who had resistance to poison. Gyutaro could also use these Sickles telekinetically as if they were boomerangs. They were strong enough to cut through flesh and block attacks from Tengen's katana. I don't know if I should include them in this list since these fans literally do nothing. Even without these, Doma would have killed Shinobu. Anyways, the Upper Moon 2, Doma wields a pair of Japanese fans that are extensions of his own flesh just like other demon weapons. However, unlike other demons who use these weapons as extensions of their blood demon art, Doma merely uses them to direct his ice attacks. His blood demon art is not related to these war fans and they merely serve as means to buff his attack. On the tier list, I would place these war fans at B tier. I'm pretty sure no one would object to this. I know I said that I won't talk about traditional katana here, but Tanjiro's sword is different. In case you don't have the memory of a freaking goldfish and you remember swords change color according to their wielders and it determines their breathing style.
Breathe air.
However, in Tanjiro's case, his katana turned black, which is obviously because he's powerful. It is mentioned that demon slayers with black katana fail to master any particular breathing technique and never reach Hashira level. Besides Tanjiro, just one more character is known to possess a black katana, and that swordsman is none other than Yoriichi. Now this makes it clear that black katana means that the swordsman is meant to master sun breathing, and Tanjiro did exactly that. The reason this fact is unknown to other demon slayers is because sun breathing was never passed on to anyone by Yoriichi. My man feared women and never got married. This fact alone makes Tanjiro's black sword pretty unique. I would place this sword at S tier. We are talking about sun breathing here, and you can also say that the S in sun stands for S tier.
Oh my God.
Next up, we have the snake Hashira, Obanai Iguro. Unlike other demon slayers, Obanai's sword is custom made and perfectly incorporates his breathing style. The sword also establishes the importance of his pet snake in battle. If you look closely, the sword resembles the curvy body of a snake. The sword also resembles the traditional Indonesian Chris sword. However, Obanai's sword is a bit shorter. This sword makes Obanai's attacks hella unpredictable and much harder to dodge compared to your ordinary sword. It is quite obvious that the handguard of Obanai's sword are two snakes and the handle possesses simple twisted stripes just like Mitsuri's sword. He's basically a huge simp and you cannot deny that. Man acts so tough in Sigma but gets jealous of a teenager with Siscon. On the tier list, I would place Obanai's sword at A tier. Even though it is tailor-made to suit Obanai's fighting style, the sword itself is nothing special besides the fact that it is a bit unpredictable. Since we have talked about Obanai previously, it makes sense that we talk about Mitsuri next. When she was first introduced, most people thought that the love Hashira doesn't use a sword, and they were right in some sense. Even though it is quite different from your traditional swords, this weapon works out best for her. Her weapon is more like a whip than a sword and is extremely flexible. The sword can extend a long distance and its sharpness is just like that of an ordinary Nichirin blade. The sword even swings back even after a successful move, which makes it extremely difficult to wield for anyone else besides Mitsuri. Anyways, this unique weapon is a testament to her unbelievable flexibility and high-level movements. But the pervy chief who forged it is even more amazing. I mean, how do you even create such a sword and make it sharp as well? For the tier list, Mitsuri's whip sword is undoubtedly an S tier weapon. How can we not talk about the most badass character in the series? That's blasphemy. Just like his flashy and extravagant personality, Tengen's weapons are also pretty huge and flashy. These dual cleavers are so massive that Tengen has to carry them on his back without a sheath. He's basically announcing to the world that if you mess with me or my wives, I'm gonna butcher you. The dual cleavers are connected to each other with a metal chain that allows Tengen to use them as nunchucks, which is pretty insane because these weapons are insanely heavy and Tengen moves them like it is nothing. That just shows how overwhelmingly strong he is. I'm pretty sure no other Hashira would be able to use these cleavers besides Gyomei, probably. It is also mentioned that not a single demon had survived the cleaver's destructive blow before the Upper Moon 6. attacks. Tengen also combines other weapons like explosive beads alongside his dual cleavers, which makes his attacks insanely unpredictable. Even though the dual cleavers have no S in them, Tengen's dual cleavers are definitely a S tier weapon. Regarded as a stone Hashira, Gyomei Himejima is the strongest Hashira in the Demon Slayer Corps. However, unlike other Hashira, Gyomei doesn't use a sword or its variant. Gyomei uses a weapon that is far more destructive and overwhelming. Gyomei's weapon of choice is a spiked flail, an axe forged from the same material used to forge Nichirin blades. However, it is mentioned in chapter 166 that the weapon's material might even be superior to Nichirin blade. Even the Upper Moon 1 Kokushibo failed to cut through his chain. You guys remember how we were talking about Tengen's weapon being heavy and everything? What do y'all think about Gyomei's weapon? This massive weapon is a testament to Gyomei's skills and strength. He makes it look so effortless, which makes me believe that I might be able to swing it around as well. Perhaps I should touch some grass before that. This weapon allows Gyomei to attack his enemy from afar and also makes his movements quite unpredictable. For this last one, I want you guys to rate the weapon. I'm pretty sure all of us know where it should be placed, but for the sake of it, let me know in the comments as well. That's it, folks. Hope you enjoyed the video. I would like to mention that this tier list is based on my personal opinion, so you don't have to bash me in the comment.
Talk to me like that again, and I'll bash you up big time!